Hey guys, Anthony with Austin Historical Weapons Guild here with Andreas, once again shooting from our current residence in Vigilante here in Austin. Again today working on more of Jude Lew, Das Book, picking up where we left off last time, End of the Scheitelhau, starting on page 145. This next section, skimming at it ahead, is pretty boring, so I gotta skip this just because it's going through guards and we can spend way more time than I want to spend on this, breaking these down, what these mean. But just going to read through, use only 4 Liger positions, avoid the common ones. So Ox, Flug, Elber, Von Tog shall not be unknown to you. So basically he's kind of emphasizing, focus on your 4 guards, don't avoid the common ones, don't even talk about those are. And then in the gloss, notice the 4 positions are the 4 guards from which you shall fence. Then he talks about Ox, second being Flug, on both sides. Third is called Elber. Left foot in front. And then Von Tog. So one interesting side note, they do show Elber as a left foot forward position instead of a right foot forward position. Other than that, they're pretty straightforward, pretty common understandings. I'll display them briefly, but again, I'm not going to really dig into these because there's way more nuance and detail that's worth digging into than that talks about. Briefly, we have Ox where the point's in front of the head. We have it on both sides, really emphasizing point forward, extended here, point at the opponent. If I switch sides, I switch feet. And again, bring that here. Flug, talk about pommel, back of the hip. Again, point at the opponent's face. The book is very explicit talking about which edge is up and making sure going from there, but again, I'm not digging into that. Elber, they did mention left leg forward, which is the only weird thing to me, but it's just kind of relaxed down position here. Where Von Tog, his arm stretched up. Nothing you can kind of see, but the point is to the back. I'm not straight vertical. I'm slightly canted back and more relaxed, but I'm not kind of down. I'm not upside down with that. It's kind of high neutral, relaxed position. So that's the brief part on the 4 guards. Again, there's plenty other better videos, or I can make ones later if people are really interested about what this actually means going into them, but it's not worth it for the skim through of what we're doing right now with the focus of these videos. So moving on from page 149. There are 4 displacings that are very damaging to the leader. Avoid displacing. It is troublesome if it happens. So there are 4 displacings, but we should avoid displacing. So I don't know, I feel like that's kind of saying that don't get displaced, and that's troublesome if it happens. But that kind of ties into what these are. They're not being displacing the guards, breaking the guards, as are more commonly known, is not about wounding the other person. It's about A, getting them out of the position they were in before, but B, giving yourself a better bind setup, better engagement setup than you would if you threw a normal cut. And we'll try to play with that in these displacements coming up. We'll see how it goes on this kind of blind read. So moving on. So notice you have heard beforehand of the 4 guards. Just talked about those. Now you'll learn about the 4 displacings with which you shall break the 4 guards. Know that no displacement whatsoever belongs to them, but it is rather 4 strikes that break the 4 guards, right? So it's not a special weird move. It's one of the cuts we just talked about in the previous section that breaks these guards. The first one is the Krumpau, which breaks the guard Ox. I believe we did that in the Krumpau section. The second one is the Zwerhau, which breaks the guard Von Tog. The third is the Schieler, which breaks the guard Flug. The fourth is Scheitelhau, which breaks the guard called Elber. And how to execute the correct pieces from the strikes against the guards is mentioned beforehand in the strikes. Therefore, take care not to displace against the guards if you don't want to get hurt by strikes. Take care not to displace against the guards. I have no idea. It's a very interesting, strange turn of phrase. Yeah. That doesn't mean a whole lot. So briefly, though, just to kind of emphasize, tie these in, and see if we can kind of puzzle out that weird phrasing. Take care not to displace against the guards.
Well, maybe don't displace, instead use these cuts. Don't try to whatever, just go in, maybe.
But it says there are 4 displacings that are very damaging to the leader.
All right.
So
strange.
Quick review. So Krumpow is going to break left ox in particular. So right, Andres up in left ox. Right, my Krump, cross arm strike, striking coming up over the hands. As I come here, it's just really striking, working to get that position, working to get this cut angled to his hands and making him pull away. Right, so here, if he goes to parry or catch, he's going to want to pull back because that starts giving him a weak bind. He's probably going to set aside hard and strong and push it way wide, which opens him up and lets me work from there. If I throw a normal cut against ox, for whatever reason, I'm here. Like, he's able to easily set this aside and catch it and work from there versus that how that crooked cut, as I come in, I take away that option because I'm coming in at a different angle that's not basically covered by his guard. Next we had Von Tog being broken by the Zverhau. So he's up high, doing a nice tall Von Tog. Again, I'm coming in, I'm doing my strike across here. Again, not really looking or expecting to hit the arms. If it's there, great, but expecting him to come down with a cut. Any cut he comes down with as I close, I'm going to catch and set aside with my strong, maybe striking, maybe not, but getting in close, pulling him out of his position, pulling him out of his ability to move to attack. Left Flug is against the Schielhau. So again, same symbol here. We're coming across, making that false edge cut, moving through. I'm able to, A, strike high over his blade, his attack. And if he goes to push it aside, I'm in a much stronger position for him. If he really pushes out, obviously I can twist around. But against a normal strike, that Flug is a much easier time of setting that aside. As you can see, he's got me set off and can easily thrust in. So these strikes are coming in, really taking advantage of these positions, controlling the bind, controlling the fight. Not a guaranteed win, not a guaranteed strike. Last one was Elber being broken by the Scheitelhau. We had a little bit of modification after the video last time, which I guess you get to see. Where now, as I'm up high, I'm throwing this, leaving my hands high, and really dropping that point so I can come in with that thrust, right? If he does catch it and put it up, and able makes the parry better, I kind of unwind, crossing against the hands, making the slice, attacking from there. So that's kind of the quick recap, breaking the guards, and what that means, how it's done, at least in our quick revisit. But that does time this next section. So if you have been displaced, notice how it came to pass. Hear my advice, pull quickly away in a rush. So he's just saying, run, get out there, don't do the things. So notice, when he has displaced you and doesn't want to disengage from the sword and doesn't intend to let you carry out any pieces, then pretend to disengage from the sword. Jerk your sword toward you, half the length of the blade, and go up instantly with the sword. Strike him quickly with the short edge or the duplier into his head. So, interesting is we don't have a whole lot of what this displace actually means or where it's coming from other than it's kind of a guard break. It's kind of an unfavorable position. So we're going to pull away quickly in a rush. Pretend disengage from the sword and pull it towards you half the length of the blade, going up instantly with the sword. So we'll try that. Let's see, want to break my Von Tog with your Zverhau? See how this plays out. All right, so I'm going Von Tog. He comes with his Zverhau. I displace, push it away. Now I'm assuming the one who's being displaced myself is acting here. So if he's not letting me move and disengage, he's pressing in. I'm going to pull away and kind of lift up my sword, right? And then striking around to the other side. Actually, I kind of feel I've got this, which is the option, or that duplier based on what you're doing. I feel like that matched the text fairly well. Yeah. So play it a few different ways. So again, pretend to disengage from the sword, jerk your sword toward you, half the length of the blade, and go up instantly with the sword. Strike him quickly with a short edge or the duplier into his head, which is a long edge. Yeah, let's try that one more and look at a couple of the other guards and see how that feels. Yeah. Right. So I cut. So I jerk and lift. Here, I'm enough on your blade. Because imagine you're pressing in at me. So I pull in and go up immediately. So I've either got that really nicely. If you're still engaging pressing, that duplier does work fairly strongly. So I think the key of this working as a displacing is that we're assuming the aggressor, the person doing displacing, is fairly aggressive with that setting off with the bind. And definitely does tie into that feeling of breaking the guards, right? Where if you're in a guard and I'm breaking it, I'm not kind of going like and going away, actually pressing and driving through. So if I throw my Sheila, I'm pressing there. Yeah, jerk, go up. Don't raise into ox. So again, I'm coming here with my shield. I'm pressing through. Yeah, you forgot to pull towards you and disengage. All right, so we can get this. No pressure. Everyone's watching. Right? Yeah, say hi though. Because you don't want that. Yeah, drop your hands. Don't go to ox. You're just pulling your sword away, inviting me in. Yeah. Does that feel better? Yeah. All right, so I'm on left ox. You throw your shield how. I parry. I pull up there, right? And here I've got my Duplier and nicely set up. So I'm covered against this. I'm not really trying to get that point online because you've got that guard. I'm just keeping you out in the way. Here I've got a really strong, easy Duplier and covering against that. If I go to ox, here, same thing. I'm really making sure this stays engaged. He's really driving that in. So I'm going to pull back and lift up. And here I've got that short edge strike as I've displaced and cleared myself and pulling through. So that feels fairly good, honestly, from that kind of viewpoint of this idea of, and I'm going to bet as a universal concept, if we apply to the bind here, right, if he starts really pressing and I don't get any ability to do work, I do the same thing. I can pull and press up, right? If he chases in, right, now here, as I'm high, I can make that false edge press, locking him away, or even a Duplier, depending on where he's moving, pressing his attack. So that feels like a fairly solid, consistent option, right? We're looking to pull in tight, getting more strength, getting more leverage on my blade versus his, and pressing up, but making sure we don't pull too much that we're disengaging and losing that bind, losing that connection. So another one, if he has displaced you, jerk your sword upwards at his blade against his point, as if you want to do an Oben Abnehmen. Instead, remain in the sword and simply strike at his blade again to his head. And jerk your sword upwards at his blade against his point. So very similar to the previous one. I'm not certain. Right. So here, I'm coming up. I'm acting like I want to do this. Right. Instead, I'm just bringing it back down and through. So if he's displaced me from a normal cut, and I'm here, I'm going to pull back and press, acting like I'm coming around. Instead, I just return through it. We want to see it against one of the other guard breaks as well. Because you're displacing me here, there. So again, I press up, looking to come like that. Instead, it just comes through there. So slightly different in that this one, I'm really just driving aggressively towards the point instead of pulling away and lifting. But end result feels fairly similar as far as getting control and relocating. All right, so moving on. Set on at 4 ends. Stay there if you want to finish. Nice and mysterious. So getting the gloss. Knowing that the end setting on, is a serious piece because it aims directly at the 4 openings. So again, 4 openings we have divided across the middle and divided vertically. So we have 4 openings, which includes the head and the upper openings. The lower openings is primarily below the ribs, not just at the shoulders and below. So we have the 4 openings. Should be executed if you want to end him quickly with the sword. Item, do the end sets in as follows. When you approach him in the Zufectum, take position of the ox of the flug with the sword. If he wants to strike you above or thrust from his right, come forward with a displacement. Shoot the long point to the nearest opening of his left side and look out if you can set on him. Okay, so he's going to strike at above or thrust from his right, and I'm going to the nearest opening, It doesn't say which side Ox or Flug I should be on, but I'm nearest opening of his left side, if I can set on him. All right. So see how much space we have. So I can back up a little bit more. You can back up a little bit more. And I'm going to come in. I'm going to step into my guard here. And I want to just step this out there. I don't feel super safe on this. Yeah, but I'm on the, he said your left side, right? If I'm there, right? If I'm here, if I stay there, right, I'm still not locking that out. I feel like we're being hyper literal, probably on purpose, because I definitely am aware of what this can be, but I want to get what he's trying to say. So Ox or Flug, if he wants to strike you above or thrust from his right, come forward with the displacement. Oh, someone should displace first. And then shoot the point. So I need to displace first. So I can come forward, long point displacement. So I'm here, and I come there. And then I lock that out. So it's not thrusting in, I'm coming out, displacing, and then I take the nearest opening from there. Same thing if I'm in my Ox, right? I displace out the long point, and then take the opening from there. And that feels better. Also, if I have to explain why it doesn't matter which side I'm on, right? I can be here, I'm still going to the long point first, getting this mind control, and then taking that nearest opening, whatever's there. And that definitely feels better. It's a little bit longer, wider of a play than I'm used to for this kind of action, so it's kind of interesting to, for this one at least, the emphasis. Come forward with a displacement. So shoot the long point to the nearest opening of his left side, and look out if you can set on him. Yeah, and the same thing on the other side, or if he strikes from above from his left side, come forward with displacement, shoot the point long towards his nearest opening on his right side. So we've got 4 of these that kind of line up repeatedly. So he's coming from his opposite side now, right? I shoot out, and my long point, and I'm going to his right side because that's where he's pushing me. And I just take that and drive that wherever it needs to go. Or he strikes from below from his right side. Shoot the long point towards the nearest opening on his left side. Or if he strikes to you from below on his left side, shoot the long point to the lower opening of his right side. And always watch out to set on. So here's an interesting tagline on the last one, which feels like it should be a separate item, but it's not. If you notice that the shooting at a point and displaces, stay with your sword on his one and work nimbly to the nearest opening. Right? So again, just kind of emphasizing, like, yes, these are great ways to attack openings, make openings, exploit openings. They're not always going to work, but just stay on the sword and keep moving, keep working from there. Right? So if he's striking from low this time, right, same thing, I want to extend. If he's from the left or from my right, I'm going to his left side. If he sets that off, I should just keep my work, wind to the next opening, push around the next opening, and I'm just working from there. So just very repetitively emphasizing the same thing. Whatever side he's striking from, attack the opposite side so you're not trying to fight against his sword. If he does displace and set you off, keep working, stay on his blade, don't disengage, don't pull off. And we had just a couple displacement options already, and just work those openings from there. All right, so moving on. Learn Knock Rising. Twice or cut into the weapon. Strive for 2 outer ones. Begin your work afterwards. Test the passages of arms, whether they are soft or hard. All right, so notice the Knock Rising is manifold and should be applied with great wariness against those fencers who fence with 3 long strikes, but who otherwise do not esteem the art of the sword properly. All right, so yes. Yeah, right, but 3 long strikes. So this is a key distinction here. So we talked about the shield how defeating someone who fences with short arms, someone who's kind of staying really tight here, and these tiny little strikes kind of generally staying long, ending up in flug or even ox-like positions, because again, my arms are short against me. For those people, you're not going to be doing a knock rising because you don't have a big enough opening to move from there. These are free long strikes. And free strikes, from understanding and seeing it used a few times before, where you take a free strike as you go, it's kind of like I'm just kind of coming across, not really expecting to hit, not so much that I'm out of range, but I'm taking these kind of sweeping motions to advance to cover, but there's no engagement, there's no bond, there's no sword. I'm not even like worried about avoiding at this point. So it's very much this idea that they're unimpeded, not that they're uncontrolled, but they're definitely open outside of range, and there's no bind, no cover. And depending how loose or technically you want to get with it, arguably no target even, but that's a separate kind of thing. All right, and do it with great wariness, right? So be definitely careful. This is apparently not the easiest, not the most accessible thing to be doing. It sounds like from that line that exposing yourself to danger as well. So make sure that if you're doing it, it's equally controlled, and you're not just doing it like, oh, he swung, I should swing after him. Make sure you're targeting your system is there. So do the first piece of the knock rising as follows. If you approach him in the Zufechten, put your left foot forward and stand on the guard von Tog, and watch out what he's fencing against you. If he strikes above from his right shoulder with long strikes, do not displace, but look out that he cannot reach you with the strike, right? So very different, controlling your distance, like I was saying. He's making these big, long strikes, but we're not out of range. I'm not even trying to like void it and sneak out of guard position as a cut comes. Like I want him totally off balance. I'm not like trying to turn to void or anything like that. This is straight up. He's made an early swing out of distance that I'm going to take advantage of. So note, in that instant, his sword is going downward towards the ground. Spring towards him with your right foot and strike above to the opening of his right side before he's able to bring his sword back up. Thus he is beaten, right? So quick demo, Sound's weapon, so we can kind of demonstrate this timing, this distance, right? No, you've got a weapon. I mean, Sound's weapon for me, right? So he makes this cut. I know right here, I'm safe, right? So this is when I want to step in, sorry, striking with my right foot, coming in over here, striking from there. And this is especially without a weapon. This one is like super suicidal, like there. And I need to come in as that's descending before that can come up. If I'm being smart and playing safe, I should be making sure that cut is covering that same line he came up of, or came up from. He does say strike the right side because that's the exposed side. That's his kind of lead shoulder that's now exposed to the ground. But it doesn't say high or low. It doesn't say which angle to come in at, and kind of working from there. So now with a weapon, I've got significantly more reach now I can deal with. And again, I'm up in Vom Tog. I'm not going to assume I should just be starting here. Not that I can't. But so as he cuts, I'll make sure I'm nicely out of range. And as soon as that passes, I'm stepping in, right? So really watch that timing, right? As soon as that sword passes in front of me, I'm stepping in and making that cut. And honestly, even so, cut nice and slow from there, right? So this is past my step, right? This cut is painfully close to me, but I'm still safe, right? This is after I've stepped. So really making sure that I know my distance, know my timing. As he cuts, I'm stepping in right after displacing this. And in that perfect world we're talking about, this is coming down before his sword is down, which means he's not going to be able to come back up in time. And just to kind of demonstrate the flip side of this with the short arms, so throw a shorter cut like this. Yeah, right. And this is why you can't be doing this against someone who fences short, right? Now, not only this cut already stopped, it's pointed right at me. He can easily turn that off and make a thrust, and I'm in trouble. So really highlighting that idea of they need to be throwing these big, long, free-flowing cuts, and they can't be doing this kind of short thing, which leaves a point on target, shortens his action, gives me a much smaller window to operate against, but I probably can't do it all. So moving on. This is a long one. All right, so item, the second piece. If he misses you with a strike, you strike after him, and he goes instantly up with the sword in order to displace. So just what we just did, he gets himself up in time, so maybe I'm a little bit late, maybe he's a little bit faster than I am, maybe some combination, who cares, right? The fact of the matter is we've tried this knock rise and won. He's able to stop my first attack. Stay strong on his sword with your long edge. When he lifts his sword upward, spring with your left foot, appropriately behind his right foot, and strike him with his Verkau or otherwise to his head on his right side. So immediately continue your work to his left side with the duplieren or other pieces, depending on how you sense his being hard or soft with the sword. This is called striving for the outer one. So if we go back, remember, twice learning knock rise and twice or cut into the weapon. Strive for 2 outer ones before your work afterward. Test passage arms if they're soft or hard. Right? So this is the second strike. So I'm doing 2 before I start my other work to their side, and then I test his arms as everything comes out. So from the knock rise in again from nice and high, he cuts in, I step, he gets this up, I spring behind his foot a little far away here, trying to get this through here, right? If he parries this, then I come around, I don't have the duplieren from this side, over there, working on that. Let's read that again, make sure that kind of made sense. We'll have to work on my distance apparently. Apparently I want it even closer, I'm going to spring behind that right foot. All right, so when he lifts his sword upward, spring with your left foot appropriately behind his right foot and strike him with his Verk, or otherwise, whatever I get, to his right side. Immediately continue your work to his left side of the duplieren or other pieces. Again, this is an easy one. Whatever is actually there is fine. Depending how you sense being hard or soft with the sword. So this is driving for the outer one. So you have strive for 2 outer ones, begin your work afterward. So one more with that. A 1. Right, and really just kind of playing there. And I still didn't get quite deep enough with that. Man, how deep do I have to leap with those? So there, I can duplieren that side. And then if he's hard or soft with the sword, continue options, continue work from there. Let's see. So another piece. When he misses you with a strike before you, and you strike after him, bind on his sword towards his left side. He misses with a strike before you, and you strike after him, bind on his sword toward his left side. If he proceeds to immediately strike his Verkau around to your right side, like this is your counter, come in this forward ahead with his Verkau under his sword against the left side of his neck. So the counter is Verk play. I don't know how the setup doesn't make sense. So when he misses with a strike before you, so you miss with a strike before me, and you strike after him, bind on his sword toward his left side. So I just...
Oh, as in maybe whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm doing a knock rise, and I'm binding on your sword towards your left side. Maybe I'm not even trying to strike. Maybe I'm just like baiting you to do something. And you're coming with this Ver to my right side.
Did it smash from down here?
That's what it pretends. All right, so let's just face that out. So you miss, I come in, so you're gonna bring this back up, right? You're the lead here. So you're dropping that. So you gotta pull it back though, you can't. So step around and make his Verkau. I'm not quite under you, but that's it. Crazy. Here, so you press it up, and I'm pressing it there. So I need to really commit that. So the missing part is we're just doing that same parry. But this time, instead of springing for a second outer taking with my own Zverha, I'm just going to set you off to the left, to the right. You cut, I spring, instead I come there. You got to wait for me to set you off before you Zwerk. Right, so I come there, now you should step in the Zwerk.
Yeah.
Does that feel better or more realistic in your action?
Yeah, also it's the same for you.
Right. So I guess my question is Zwerk feel natural for you? Like, I'm not going to cover this one, so make it.
I don't know. That would be my choice.
You knock rising me, so I'll miss. You go the knock rising. So we're here. Step in hard to my left.
Oh.
Yeah, press my sword. No, just press.
Oh.
Right. So from here, I feel like I would come into that. Maybe. Because that's what we're looking at. That's what the argument is. Yeah, we'll find out as Zwerk. See if it makes sense. So I miss. You knock. You're stepping through.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely not feeling a lot of power out of that. Well, if you come off.
That won't work.
Should you be pressing down with your sword more? Bind on his sword towards his left side. If he says his Zverha to your right side, come into forward with his Zverha under his sword against the left side of his neck. Or do something else. So a few more, and then we're going to call it a mystery and play with it later.
You miss?
Yeah. Right, so I miss. I'm up. You're pressing my left. I can come to your right side, though. I don't know.
It's a mystery.
Like, I get where they're trying to go with it, and I get the counter Zverha play, but I don't get the setup.
Maybe there's more after this. But
Which just makes it worse.
no.
Because Zverha to your right side. Yeah, I feel like we're just missing what that setup should be. Here, let me knock rise you a few times. So I'm trying to set you to the left.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to Sven.
You're Zverking to my right. Yeah, but I can't get that underneath from there. And if I go higher with it, so you miss.
Oh.
So I cut.
Jump.
Does that feel better?
That looks good.
Did that Zverka feel better?
Yeah.
I think it's because we're getting a little bit too precise with that parry and not treating it like an actual wild miss, right? So if I do the knock rising here, and I'm putting this there, right? I want it, because yeah, now I'm kind of stuck if I don't get that kind of Zverka under. So it's really making sure the right reactions are happening, right? So you miss, I come, I catch this, to that. And that feels a little bit better. And I feel like the difference is that I'm really making sure that I'm treating this as you've caught my sword and I'm just pressing it up and away. And that kind of displacing as we were doing before even. And I'm coming under as you make the displacement. Oh, so this is a long chunk. We're wrapping up to this. Or spring with the left foot to his right side, follow his strike towards the right side, or make cut over his arms towards his head. There's a lot of ors in there. Spring with the left foot. All right, so I assume it's from that neutral bind we got to before, and you're making that Zwerkow.
So on this.
I come in, I'm up, use Verk. Do I come there? I mean, I feel pretty good here.
But to my right would be
Yeah.
here.
Or swing with the left foot to his right side and follow his strike towards the right side. Or make a cut over his arms towards his head.
Work.
Yeah, I just follow your cut and make the slice as you spin around. Surprising, actually. So here, yeah. Don't know if I trust my fingers on that, but we'll see. I'll throw the head, I'm just smashing the head accidentally.
Wrong side.
Yeah, you definitely tagged him that time. So, I don't know. Or slice over your arms to your head. That's an easy one. So come in. I just press down. More or less. All right. So we're definitely going to break there. There's one more knock rising. Actually, two more knock risings after that we'll get into more next time. But it's definitely running late, I feel. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, tagging along. If there's definitely questions, comments, feedback, suggestions, definitely reach out, comment on YouTube, email me, reach out on Facebook, anything like that. We're back, more of that mixed weapon, kind of combining ideas, combining concepts work on Wednesday. And have a good night.